Good afternoon, Spike.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV.
My pleasure.
So, Spike, big fight coming up. Chris Eubank Jr.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Pretty great. Feel a bit tired now at the minute from a tough week of training and sparring and hill sprints, everything else. But feeling good.
So, to quite a few people outside of Ireland might not know who Spike or Sullivan is. So can you tell us a little bit more about your amateur background first? Tell us a bit more about what you've done as an amateur.
I did over 100 fights as an amateur. I was a national champion of Ireland. I represented Ireland as an amateur.
So that experience, did it ever take you outside of Ireland? Did you ever box internationally?
I did. I boxed internationally for Ireland, yeah. Been out of country boxing for Ireland, yeah.
And so what did you gain going travelling, boxing for Ireland?
I gained experience, I suppose, being away from home, and you gain that from it. But I've had many fights abroad as well, so nothing new to me.
The various different styles you would face in amateur boxing, do you think that's going to help you all in this upcoming fight against somebody who's pretty unorthodox in Chris Eubank Jr.?
Well, I've been fighting all my life. I started off boxing when I was 5 years of age. I don't think there's much out there that I haven't seen at this stage. Thousands and thousands upon thousands of spars and over 100 amateur fights and 23 pro fights now, and I've come up against a lot of various different styles, and I don't think he is anything that I haven't seen before.
Right. One of the things that has been said, whether it be through social media or even through boxing fans, is that via Twitter you were very vocal, you said a lot of things. Now that you've got the fight with Chris Eubank Jr., almost you've got him where you want him, you weren't as vocal at the press conference. What was your thinking behind that?
Well, Twitter was just banter from my side, from my perspective, to get the fight. I'm promoting over America, and I don't have Sky Sports behind me like Chris does and Eddie Hearn. So I used Twitter to get the fight. My talking is done now. I don't feel the need to speak too much, and that's why I get in the ring. Action speaks louder than words.
So some people would say, okay, well, he's got the fight, now he's met Chris Eubank Jr. in person. That may seem as though he's chickening out, or he's nervous, or he's scared of Chris Eubank Jr. What are your thoughts? Because people don't actually know who you are, so I'm trying to find out more about who you are and what's going on inside the mind of Spike O'Sullivan.
I'm quietly confident. I don't feel like I need to speak too much. No one ever won a boxing match with their mouth. You can't punch with your mouth. So I just look forward to getting there and do my talking days.
You've come face to face with Chris Eubank Jr. now. What is it like coming face to face with the man himself?
He's not much unlike other fighters, I suppose, but he is an arrogant guy. I feel like he's a bit of a silver spoon guy, and a bit arrogant. Didn't really take to him. Like, I've never really disliked many of my opponents, but he's one of them that I wouldn't be. He wouldn't be on my Christmas card list.
So, is it? I know you said it's just business, but when does business become a little bit more than that? In terms of, well, this is a guy now that he's not on my Christmas card list. I consider him pretty arrogant. How much does that inspire you in the gym?
Motivates me more to beat him. For sure. I think he needs a lesson. I think he needs a lesson that I think he'll get it the 12th of December.
And your punch power, the one thing that people can look to, Anthony Fitzgerald, the first round knockout. Some would say, well, okay, who's Anthony Fitzgerald? Others would say that was a good knockout. Where do you put that in your mind? And does that bear anything on this fight with Chris Eubank Jr.?
Well, I suppose I do it for everybody knows that. For those that don't know who Anthony Fitzgerald is, he went the distance with the WBO middleweight world champion Andy Lee. He gave Andy a lot of problems, and Andy couldn't knock him down. And Andy's rated in the top 5 in the world, as most top 10 or 5 most explosive punchers in the world. He couldn't knock him out. He fought also Hassan Adan, who's world champion as well, and beat Andy in the Olympics. Andy Fitzgerald fought him on like 2.5 weeks' notice and went the distance and gave him trouble also. I said I'd knock him out. I put a bet on that I'd knock him out. And I knocked him out.
So everyone knows Andy Lee's punch power, and they fear that punch power. They say, well, okay, this guy can punch, he can crack, and he didn't drop, and he didn't stop Fitzgerald. You did. So then would that say that you have knockout power, or is it just styles make fights?
Sorry?
Is it styles make fights?
I suppose you could say that, Chad.
Or is it you have genuine knockout power?
I definitely have genuine knockout power, there's no disputing that. I wouldn't go so far to say I'm the actual hardest hitting middleweight in the world, but I'm certainly right up there. If anybody could hit harder than me, it must be by a minute amount. I think at 160 pounds, it would be very, very, very difficult to hit harder than I hit myself.
Is it just punching power you bring to the ring? Because if you, let's say you connect and you can't shift Chris Eubank Jr., let's say, then what does Spike or Sullivan do then?
That won't happen. I will shift him. I'll shift anybody when I hit him. 160 pounds. Everybody's human. I got power to shift absolutely anybody. I got when I fought in PBC with Al Heyman, I got these devices on my gloves. They register like the power, the speed, the amount of punches you throw. I registered over 1,100 pounds of pressure. It was the hardest punch they recorded in a live fight. Anyone gets hit by that, that's it. Good night.
Negotiations for this fight. The first time round, when they said, oh, well, Spike Sullivan should be here, but he ducked it, he pulled out, he didn't want to know, he wasn't interested, he chickened out. Really? What was really going on behind that, Spike? What was really going on? What's the real story? What's the real crack behind that?
Well, I think there was options that Frank Warren wanted on me. I've been previously promoted by him for 4 years, and I recently signed with the Murphy's Boxing at that stage in America, and after I fought and beat Chris, Frank wanted me to have me for another 3 fights after that, or 5 at the start. They wanted me for 5 fights after that, which didn't make sense because I already previously been with him for 4 years left him, and at the end the contract we'd have to expire mutually, and you know, it just didn't make sense going back with him. You know, and that's what the stumbling block really was.
So what was the decision to leave a top promoter like Frank Warren for you?
Well, in my opinion, my promoter is a better promoter. He's been better for me. He got me fighting Madison Square Garden. He's got me. I've had a couple of fights in America. I've been more busy than I've ever been. You know, so for me, I am with the top promoter.
Now I heard a story that Chris Eubank Jr. and you were a forced opponent. It wasn't something that the Eubanks originally wanted. Is this true, or what is behind that from your end of things?
You always hear these rumours, you know, but I do not believe that I'm the ideal opponent for Chris Eubank. I think that they also think that they'd rather fight somebody else, but the public pressure, you know, and the Sky Sports wanted to fight as well. I know that, and here we are. And all the talk about me not wanting to fight, I'm here now, and believe me, I'll be there on December 12th.
No ducking, no running, no chickening out.
Absolutely not.
No negotiation issues, you're here and you're ready.
I'm here and I'm ready.
It's good to hear. Let's talk a little bit more about comments that were made about you recently, that you were considered no more than a domestic fighter by one legendary super middleweight champion, Carl Froch. You know who he is?
I think so, yeah. Of course I know who he is.
Yes.
He's a great fighter, fighter, warrior. Always liked him as a fighter, you know, but I think as a pundit he's not as good as he was as a fighter. Far from it, you know, but you gotta say he's learning still as well, so you know, hasn't been a pundit so long, so gotta give him a break, and I think he'll improve in time.
Now, for those who don't know of your sense of humour, you did an interview back with a pair of goggles on, and I believe you had an axe in your hand. Now, can you explain to me what that was all about?
Well, I think Carl done an interview with Floyd Mayweather, and he started bragging about his own training and asking Floyd had he done that training, and about swimming and chopping down trees, so I just thought it'd be a bit funny, good humour, throwing a pair of goggles and an axe and do a bit of swimming and chop down some trees myself. So, did you swim and chop any trees down yourself? I did. I swam to America and I stopped off in a few islands along the way and chopped a few trees, yeah, prior to the fight.
Carl also said that your defense is not the greatest, and if you're getting picked off at this level, then what you're going to do when you fight at the highest level. That was his criticism of you, or constructive criticism of you.
I think that's the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? Look at himself, he needs to take a look at his own fights. He just watched his own fight with George Groves recently, and it's almost as if he's speaking about himself when he says that. So I got a good chin, man, as well, you know, so I can take it. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about being hit.
When people say they've got a good chin, they can take a good punch. How do they know they can take a good punch? Is that something you learn in sparring, or is that something that something that you just learn? Because I mean, sparring is one thing. You're hitting a certain amount of gloves, and you know, certain like bigger gloves. So now you're sparring with someone who is, you know, you're fighting somebody with 10-ounce gloves. It's a different situation.
Well, you learn it in both. You learn it in both in fights and in sparring.
Right.
You get hit, man, and you really go down and you don't, you know, and you get hit good, and you get hit by bigger guys.
Yep.
Much bigger guys, and you don't go down, and it doesn't trouble you, it doesn't wobble you.
Yeah.
You know, you got a good chin.
Chris Eubank Jr., his last fight against Jetters. How did you see that fight for yourself?
Well, it's very hard to judge a guy from a fight like that, you know. It's quite easy to look good against an opponent like Tony Jetter. I think people are being very hard on Tony Jetter as well, you know. I think he's a fighter, you know. I respect all fighters. You know, and Chris got in there and done the job he needed to do on the night and destroyed the guy, but boxing's at all levels, and they were on just different levels, so you know, it was hard to tell exactly where Chris was at from that fight though.
I know I've heard people say, well, wherever Spike or Sullivan is at the moment, that must have sent tremors down his spine seeing Chris Eubank Jr. do what he did to Tony Jetters. He might do the same to Spike too. What are your responses to people that say things like that?
I think they're have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. No idea whatsoever. There's as much chance now as this seat collapsing underneath me as that happened to me. Absolutely none.
So the idea of Eubank walking out first round and putting it on you and stopping you in the first round is unlikely.
Slightly unlikely.
Let's talk about Twitter. I know you're a man that's on Twitter a lot. I know you gave it quite a bit to Eubank Jr. What has been the response to you on social media in terms of now the fight's signed? A lot of people saying, come on Spike, we should have this fight, get the fight, get the fight. Now you've got the fight. What are people saying to you on Twitter?
They're extremely supportive and delighted. I got the fight and they're looking forward to the fight, they're excited. You know, and I thank all the people that on Twitter that have cried out for this fight and got me to fight. You know, it's my biggest fight of my career, probably everywhere. Not the biggest, best fighter I fought, but as regards financial gain and, you know, credibility in the media-wise and, you know, exposure and all that kind of thing, is the biggest fight. And I've got a lot to thank the people on Twitter for helping me out in that regard and getting the fight. And, you know, thank you very much.
What's the funniest thing you've read on Twitter for yourself in terms of comments people made about you or other fighters?
Oh my God, I see funny things on there every single day. I have absolutely no idea where to come and answer that question. I see funny things every day. I don't know. You don't know.
And in terms of somebody being very far from the truth, what would you say would be the most furthest thing somebody said to you in a Twitter conversation?
Maybe they avoided Eubank.
Yeah.
That's pretty far from the truth.
Yep.
I think that possibly could be it.
So if you were to defeat Chris Eubank,
when I defeated Chris Eubank, yeah.
Okay, I've got to stay non-biased. But if you, or when you defeat Chris Eubank Jr., what happens to your career then? Do you think? Do you move? Do you kick on? What would be your plans? What would you like to do next?
Well, it's very, very simple. I know what I'm doing next. When I beat Chris Eubank, I'm going to fight the winner of Daniel Jacobs, Peter Quillen, for the WBA Middleweight Championship of the World, and I'm going to become the middleweight champion of the world. Simple as that.
How much do you study the middleweight division in terms of Cotto and Canelo, for example?
Not a great deal. Not too much. You know, I've seen them all fight before, but I wouldn't study too much unless I was going to fight.
That's it. So you don't really. So do you actually watch boxing outside of?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do watch it. I always tune in and watch Sky, and you know, it's great to watch. I love watching real boxing.
Let's talk finally about Irish boxing. How much has being in Ireland helped you as a fighter in terms of the quality of fighters you faced, the opposition, the training? How's that set you up for world boxing, would you say?
Well, it's had its pluses and minuses.
Okay.
I suppose mostly pluses really. It's been very tough. There's a very high standard here in Ireland, I think, one amateur and professional.
Right.
But as regards promotion wise, it's difficult to get on as an Irish fighter. It's not the easiest. It's harder to beat than being, say, British. Particularly, I think if you're a British fighter, you get a lot more perks, especially if your name is Eubank as well. You get a lot of far easier. So I think it prepares you. You know, when you get there, you're more prepared. So I think on the overall, it's been a benefit really. It makes it much harder to get there. You know, but being Irish makes it harder to get there. But when you get there, you're ready.
Do you think it's like an unfair playing field, really, in that sense, or do you have to work twice as hard being Irish, or?
I think so. When you're not an Olympian as well, or haven't had got an Olympic medal or been an Olympian, as an Irish fighter, definitely it's harder to progress for sure.
Do you think an amateur background and having a successful amateur background has anything to do with being a good pro?
I think it's definitely not a bad thing, but I think you know, you got to look at Billy Joe Saunders and Andy Lee. They're going to fight for the middleweight world title. They're both Olympians, both very good fighters.
Right.
And you got obviously you got Rigondo and Lomachenko. These guys, exceptional amateurs, but also exceptional pros. But it doesn't always work out like that. Not always. I suppose every fighter is different, but I think it helps certainly to have a good amateur pedigree. No harm at all.
Your opponent, Chris Eubank Jr., his amateur record, he didn't do much as an amateur.
Yeah.
Does that hurt him coming into this fight with you? With you, who's had a lot of amateur fights?
Absolutely. I think definitely experience-wise, and you know, I think it's better for me anyway. Definitely come up with against all different styles as an amateur. I think you know, it's good. It's good to have that experience.
Spike Sullivan, thank you so much for talking to Baylor TV.
My pleasure. Thanks very much.